Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Elder Scrolls Online. My name's Camel, and today we're going to look at the new Skinchanger Weapon and Armor Style. This is Motif 31 and has been introduced in the New Life Festival, the Elder Scrolls version of Christmas, basically. And the chapters of the motif can be collected by completing the New Life Festival daily quests, or you can pick them up for a very low price on your guild store. So let's get straight into it. First up, we have the light armor set with the robes. Straight away, we get the kind of werewolf vibe. We understand where the Skinchanger name comes from. There's a lot of fur on this set. It's actually quite dark and simple, but with some very bold features. With some big hunky metal looks, some fur outlining, some claws, and of course, a wolf's head helmet skull cap thing, which is pretty cool. If there's one thing that I would remove, it would be that eye mask. It makes your character look a little bit raccoony. And now we have the light armor set with the tunic instead of the robe, which gives us a look at the pants. Nothing too special. There are some nice subtle patterns on there, but they're just some pants. The boots, gauntlets, belts, the chest piece, it all has a lot of metal components compared to most other light armor sets, which is pretty interesting, but even on the chest piece you can see the wolf's head style. And I think there's meant to be some little claws on the shoulders there. All in all, pretty interesting sets. One thing I would have liked to have seen would be the character's eyes coming out of the wolf eyes, instead of it literally looking like you've just stuck a wolf's head on top of your head. But moving on to the medium armor set. Again, looking very metallic for a medium armor set, which is traditionally leather. Very simple. It looks pretty heavy just in the sense that there's lots of layers. It looks thick and dense. While still looking relatively simple, it does kind of hit the mark. It's meant to look simple. Very spiky, very clawy. Again, we have the wolf-styled helmet and also the wolf face on the middle of the chest plate. We've got a lot of fur going on and also some claws here and there in this styling design of the armor. And again, that eye mask makes your character look like a villain from a 40s cartoon. And finally, for the armor sets, we have the heavy armor sets. And if you thought the light and medium armor sets looked heavy, then this will blow you off the scale, the weight scale, because it's heavy. But it's really cool. I like it a lot. I like the patterning on the plate, that kind of scaled look. I like the spikes on it. I like that it's touched up and stylized with fur on the edges of things. We still have the spikes. And of course, that helmet is super epic. I love that the face guard is like a kind of crisscross grill, but it also looks like a big growling wolf mouth. And while getting the Hound from Game of Thrones vibes, I'm also getting Brienne of Tarth vibes from this, so this could be their love child. And now onto the weapons. First up we have the one-handed axes, and I must say, these have hit the mark for me anyway. Going with the Skinchanger theme and this kind of wolf theme, werewolf theme, whatever you want to call it, these axes definitely slot right in. Although we don't see any teeth or faces or eyes or anything, the shape of the axe heads still remind me somewhat of a wolf. They've got some nice simplistic patterns, yet very effective patterns. On the head of the axe, we have little dabbings of fur just under the axe head going onto the handle shaft. Pretty cool, some nice long handles. The axe heads are probably as big as you'll want them without them looking too silly. They've got some nice spikes on the back. All in all, these one-handed axes I cannot fault, especially considering they're slotting into this Skinchanger style. Now we have the one-handed swords, which I can fault. I don't know if they're going for some kind of fang look or a claw look or something like this, but for me, the heavy, crude boldness of all the armor sets, then they've gone with this kind of like fiddly-diddly, thin, curved sword look, doesn't really fit in for me anyway. I feel like they should have gone for a very just straight broadsword look that has a kind of Dark Ages vibe rather than this fiddly, obscure, elven looking sword. I also feel like the handle to blade ratio is pretty intense. There's a lot of handle for very little blade. The hand guards also look quite strange. You know, they could have had little wolf's head coming off each side, but they've gone with just a big block of wood and metal. It looks very out of place. I do like the pommel on the swords though, that's probably the coolest part of them, but all in all for me, don't like these swords very much. Next up we have the one-handed maces. And just like the one-handed axes, these do fit in. They're big, crude, and very spiky, which look cool in general, but then, again, remembering that this is going to the Skinchanger style, it does look cool, it looks very fangy or clawy and spiky, and something you would not want to get hit with. And it slots right in with the crude, bold look of the heavy armor set, very angular, brutal, very dark medieval look, and goes hand in claw with the Skinchanger style. style. Now we have the two-handed axes, the battle axes, and I do believe that these are identical to the one-handed axes. They've just been scaled up, of course, making it a big two-handed weapon opposed to a one-handed weapon. The only thing that might have changed is the length of the handle, at least in terms of ratios compared to the axe head itself. But apart from that, looks exactly the same, which isn't a bad thing, but is a bad thing at the same time. I just would have liked them to have done something different, but the one-handed axes look sick. So the fact this looks the same just means that this also looks sick. And of course, still slots perfectly into the Skinchanger style. It's big, simple, crude, and brutal. Next up, we have the two-handed swords, the Claymore, the Greatsword. And this is a big, scaled-up version of the one-handed sword, and it still just doesn't work. The pattern up the blade looks cool, and that's pretty much it. The shape of the blade with those two cutouts just does... What? What? And then they put a little ice cream curly top, giving it some kind of Middle Eastern vibe, and then an elven vibe, then this weird handguard, which is just a big clump of metal and wood. It's just a weird looking sword, to be honest. I do not like it. Next up, we have the 17th century street lantern, otherwise known as the two-handed maces or warhammers. Again, it's just a scaled up version of the one-handed maces, and even they looked big and brutal, so this being scaled up just almost looks silly. The head of that mace is pretty big, and looks like it should be in the courtyard of a French chateau. But although it might be a tad big, it does look pretty cool. I do like the pattern again on just the head of the mace, and then those huge spikes. It looks like a torture weapon from the Dark Ages. Fantastical Dark Ages this is. I have no idea what was actually going on in the Dark Ages. Next up, we have the daggers. I nearly said the one-handed daggers, but as you may have guessed, the daggers are just a scaled down version of the one-handed swords. However, they are missing that handguard. They are missing that silly, goofy, rhomboid handguard. And I actually think these look better without that handguard. They just seem to have like a little circular thing, which is the technical blacksmithing term for that part of the weapon. But again, it's got the same divots cut out of it. I don't know why they did that. Makes it look like a corkscrew or something. It looks weird. Got the same pommel, the same little first styling on it. But yeah, personally, I would definitely go with a different style of dagger. Now we're moving on to the bows. This is really cool. I actually really like this bow a lot. It seems to be quite long, almost fragile looking. And although being made of wood, it again almost looks like an antler. The middle of each bow arm has that kind of twist and then a spike coming out. Then towards where the handle is, we have those big metal kind of wolf claw looking spikes coming off it, and they're probably not practical at all, but it does look cool, especially considering again that it's part of this Skinchanger style. Where the arms meet the handle, we do have some fur detailing, which again is cool. Fits in with this wolf vibe that they've been going for. The quiver looks pretty standard, it fits in. I feel like at the top there they tried to get a little wolf head shape in, but it kind of just looks weird. But apart from that, the quiver looks acceptable. And come to think of it, I've never been blown away by a quiver, so yeah, it's good. It's a good quiver. The arrowhead is quite plain. It's pretty much as plain as you can get for an arrowhead. But again, this kind of plain, crude look that they've gone for with this set, it works. It fits right in. It's just a big spike of metal, which is there to puncture you. Well, it will puncture you if you're a very bad shot. Hopefully, you'll be puncturing your enemies. So at the end of this, I do actually like this bow quite a lot. And while it does fit in perfectly with the Skinchanger style, I feel like it could easily adapt into many other armor styles, so you could use this bow style with plenty of other looks that you're going for on your character. Now we have the staves, all 4 staves, restoration staves, and the 3 destruction staves, frost, fire, and shock, all look like this staff. They will of course have a different animation when you activate them, but the skin and shape itself looks like this. And building off the bow, how the bow arm kind of looked a bit antlerish, these are obviously antlers. Which is interesting because pretty much all of the set is a wolf style, and now they've gone with antlers, which is interesting. Could be part of the hunt, it could be connecting it to her scene, where we have the werewolf and the stag prints and the hunt and all this stuff. Stag antlers, you know, it's all coming together. But it does all come together though, it does look very druidic, if that's a word. Druidish, like it belongs to a druid. Some dude who was doing the summoning ceremony while Stonehenge was being built. Very cool. Again, it's got that Dark Ages vibe, the fantasy world Dark Ages vibe, and I like it. It's cool, very witchcrafty. Again, fits in with that Skinchanger style. And finally, we have the shield. And as we can see, they have obviously gone with a big old wolf face as the entire face of the shield. It's cool that they've done that. Yeah, if you're playing some kind of like werewolf tank, this could actually be a pretty cool style to go with. It kind of doesn't look vicious though. Like, I don't look at the face and go, Jesus, it looks kind of like it's smirking oddly. Yeah, I definitely feel like they could have made that look a bit more vicious and scary. But compared to most other shields, it is pretty cool, and I do like that they've put the fur lining around the edge. I do wish we could dye the fur though. That would be very nice. So there we have the Skinchanger Weapon and Armor Style in the Elder Scrolls Online. Again, it's Motif 31 and can be acquired by doing the daily quests for the New Life Festival, which is of course a Christmas event in the Elder Scrolls Online. And also, given that so many people have duplicates of the chapters of the Motif, you can probably pick it up very cheaply from a guild store. So final thoughts on the Skinchanger Motif 31. Generally, it's pretty cool. I do like the light armor set over the medium armor set, but of course, in most cases, I do prefer the heavy armor set over the other two. And that's not to say that the light and medium armor sets look bad, that's just homage to the fact that the heavy armor set looks pretty damn beast. No pun intended, for once. I definitely feel like the medium armor set didn't quite pull off the wolf helmet. The light armor set did it a little bit better, but then the heavy armor set just looks sick. So for how easy it is to acquire this motif, it's really cool. Like, you're getting a lot out of something that's pretty cheap or easy to acquire. And the weapons, for the most part, they did a really good job. As you know by this point, I didn't like the swords or the dagger look. The blade look, I just felt it didn't fit in. I don't know if they were going for a fang look or a claw look, but apart from the fur on the handle, I would have not have guessed that those weapons fit in with this set. It looked like a very obscure, delicate little elven design rather than this old school medieval, hardcore, brutal, thick, crude look they went with the rest of the set. Two favorite pieces. Although I love the bow, I'm gonna have to say that the one-handed axes are my favorite. They hit the mark perfectly for what this set is, and they just look cool in general. They're probably as big as you would want them to look as well, so they look big epic yet look practical enough for you to not be like, alright, that just looks dumb. So the one-handed axes, and I suppose for that matter the two-handed axe is a winner for this set for me. And that's that. I hope you've enjoyed this showcasing of the Motif 31, the Skinchanger style in the Elder Scrolls Online. I've been Camel. Be sure to leave a comment letting me know your favorite armor style and your favorite weapons from this set. Be sure to like, share, and again leave a comment. In the description, individual links to my other Elder Scrolls Online Motif style showcases can be found down there, and there is also a link to my Twitter account down there. Please be sure to follow me to guarantee you are notified when I upload a new video. You can also check out the playlist on screen. Please consider supporting the channel by subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, thanks for supporting, and I will see you very shortly in the next video. I'll see you there in a second.